All right, good evening. This is our first day of the Higher Ed Finance Symposium. First presentation is going to be Community College Finance by Tarasha the Great, Vanessa Montoya, and Brennan Powell. So go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you, Dr. Edwards. So we'll be talking about community college finance. Really quick introductions. We have Ty, myself, and Vanessa that will be presenting today. Brief introduction to community college finance. As you guys know, funding and budgets are essential to higher education institutions in order to ensure that the needs of the campus are being funded and that educational leaders are prioritizing the wants of the institution. Community colleges are responsible for managing institutional funds from salaries, campus improvements and projects, and many other resources. So our group will take a further look into the inner workings of finances within community colleges with some in-depth information regarding the state of Texas specifically. So for the literature review, community colleges are a product of the Morrill Act of 1862. And then in 1890, the United States statutes granted land for colleges to be established. And this led to the opening of the first community college in 1901, which was called the Joliet Community College in the state of Illinois. It started with just 6 students and acted as sort of like a postgraduate experiment to learn more about students' educational interests and needs outside of just their bachelor's degree. Historically, community college funds come from 3 main sources of revenue, which is tuition and fees, taxpayers, and the government. But as enrollment numbers changed, so did the financial aspects of community college. So fast forward to present day, and community college enrollments made up for 41% of undergraduate students, with an estimated 8.9 million students enrolled in the 2020-2021 academic year. We also know that the average cost for tuition and fees for a full-time student at a public 2-year institution was $3,990 for the 23-24 academic year. And in comparison, the average cost for tuition and fees at a 4-year public institution were $11,260 in the 23-24 academic year. In Texas specifically, there has been a major decrease in state funding. This is also happening in other states as well, but it's leading to the rise in tuition and fee rates. So, for example, Texas's shares of funding have shrunk considerably over time, from 68% in 1980 to just 26% in 2020. This is mainly due to a change in the state funding model that occurred in 2020 in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which we know changed a lot of things in higher ed. The old formula was based off of total hours of instruction received, which is then tied in with enrollment. The new formula is based on student outcomes, including earning credentials of value, successful transfers to 4-year colleges, and completion of dual credit courses. This allows for better funding as it's no longer solely dependent on enrollment numbers. Even with this, there has been a steady increase in tuition and fees and a decline in enrollment at community colleges across the US over the past decade. So we might predict that it would continue to decline, but there's actually been a slight increase just this past year. So data indicates an increase in community college enrollments for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic, with a small 2.6 increase for the fall 2023 semester. Forecasting from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center predicts that there will continue to be a slight increase in enrollment given needs in the workforce that require some sort of higher education degree. Another trend that is expected to continue is a rise in enrollment at 2-year technical or trade schools. And again, this is due to workforce needs. Enrollment there increased by 16%, which is 3.7 above the 2019 levels. So it's also important to be cautious with this data. So it's good that enrollment is going up. But if tuition and fees also start to, continue to increase, the whole point of community colleges is that they are more affordable and more accessible. So we could possibly see a decrease in enrollment, which would inevitably lead to a decrease in revenue. So that's definitely something that I believe community colleges will be looking out for in the future. All right.
Thank you, Brenna. Our first observation was McLennan Community College in Waco. This observation provides insight into the funding of community colleges from the beginning. First is through tuition. For all community colleges aim to keep their tuition low. It happened the passing of Bill 8. Community colleges are funded based on the outcome-driven model that Brenna has already. Second is through property taxes. Each the community board and trust property taxes are allocated in the budget using a shared spreadsheet. And the last source of funding is state funding. These both state and federal grants they built on, they run out in less than 2 years. And for our second observation, that was Sheridan Community Colleges. This is a small community college in Sheridan, Wyoming that enrolls a little over 2,000 students each year. The Sheridan Community College Foundation website provides information about Sheridan Community College's finances. The foundation receives donations from individuals, foundations, corporations, alumni, faculty, and staff, and these funds support projects that fall outside of the operating budget. There is limited information on their website, perhaps due in part to being part of a larger umbrella, which is the Northern Wyoming Community College District. However, despite the limited information, their financial report for 2023 showed that the college managed 34.4 million in total assets, received 1 million in gifts, awarded 1 million in student scholarships, and 2.7 million to department and program growth. Our third and final observation was Austin Community College's Finance and Administration Department website. The website provided thorough information on the leadership staff, financial reports, property tax information, and the ACC service area, as well as a lot more other links. What stood out during this observation period was the amount of information on the website available to the public. The college has their annual budget reports for not only this fiscal year, but dating all the way back to 2010, which is impressive and upholds the integrity of the community college. In the budget reports provided by ACC, there is a pie chart in each one that breaks down the three primary sources of revenue, which I'll repeat again in case you forgot: student tuition, state funding, and property taxes. And the information from the pie chart does align with the research that Brenna stated as well, that the percentage of revenue from the state has decreased over time. And next, we're going to talk about our expert interviews. So we had the opportunity to hear from 3 female financial leaders in community college finances, and each person we interviewed had a different position, so we can go into their similarities and differences. First was Lauren Murphy. She is an associate director for the financial aid office in McLennan Community College in Waco, Texas. Her role is very student in helping students with issues regarding their financial aid, including but not limited to getting their refund back or filling out the FAFSA. Her day consists of lots of phone calls, emails, and texts between students or representatives. She supports students by talking in classes about financial literacy, the importance of creating and staying on budget, how to manage finances, and the importance of a good credit score. Her most memorable experience in this role is her transition from assistant director to the position she has now as an associate. And she keeps up with the Department of Education, attends webinars and classes to stay informed of changes, just like all the FAFSA changes that have been happening this school year. And it's vital to stay up to date with this current policies and the regulations, just drive student success so they can continue to receive their aid and continue their education. Next expert was Michelle Gist. She is the Director of Accounting at Weatherford College. She reports to the controller and the executive director of financial affairs and works closely with the accounts receivable director and purchasing department. As part of the reporting requirements for the state, she also works closely with the financial aid and the student services department to provide financial information needed for reporting by those departments. There's numerous financial reports each year to send to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board and other government entities to meet reporting requirements.
See, is the rest of the group hearing Vanessa?
Hey, Vanessa, can you hear us? I'm not sure.
Talking about, so I'll be talking about some of the 6 steps that have been found to be some of the best practices within the community college regarding the planning and budgeting process. So step 1 is to prepare and develop inputs to the budgeting process. So it's very important to start with the principles and policies just to guard the budgeting process. Some of the standards should be set to see how the college will manage some of the resources, as well as to examine internal and external forces that may impact the budgets, whether that be for academics or maybe the financial performances within the physical year or the year prior to. And then step 2 is to define goals and identify some of the gaps. The goals that have been defined within the steps should be well developed, they should be measurable, and they should also be realistic. And then regarding any gaps, it's important to look for gaps or trends that may have that might stand out. This is also very important just because this is a step where you can catch maybe some of the red flags that might not have been caught. They can also maybe alter the total budgeting process in the plan. Step 3 is to develop strategies to close some of the gaps. With the strategies and practices within this step, it's very important to find strategies that have been proven to be effective. And then once we found out what strategies and practices that you want to move forward with, you should also make sure that they align with the college's budgeting principles and policies. And then step 4 is to prioritize spending to intact strategies and allocate resources. With the new and the current expenditures, they should also be prioritized just to ensure that the goals are being met. And then once we figure out which expenditures should be prioritized, is also you have to prioritize the funding. So how much funding should each expenditure get based on the prioritization. And then also you should be able to create a budget document. This is basically a communication document just showing the resources and how the funds should be allocated, as well as what are some of the steps that have been implemented to reach those goals. And then number 5 is to check performances. This should be something that's checked on a regular basis just to make sure that the goals are being met. If the goals aren't being met, then we have to go back to the budgeted document to see what did we miss? What are some steps that we might need to go back and relook at to see how can we better make sure that our performance is being met or on track within that fiscal year. And then lastly is to enhance budgeting practices. Basically, in this last step, what you're going to do is to measure your success. This is why it's important to the goals that have been set for you for the fiscal year should be measurable, because you need to go back and measure those goals. Did we meet our goals? Are we ahead of the game? Are we staying current? Or are we behind? And also the allocation of funds. It's just going back to the budget document, just going through those steps of saying what are the steps that we're taking to meet those funds? What are the steps that we're taking to make sure that our budget is staying balanced? All right, next slide. And then just a few takeaways. There are various strategies regarding budget in the community college. It's very important just to remember that past trends are beneficial for the future. Trends that have been working 3, 5, 6 years ago may still be current to whatever the fiscal year budget and the goals that are trying to be met. Those still can be implemented just to make sure that the college is still going in the direction that has been set forth. Also, having a great relationship with the board of trustees is vital. The role of the board of trustees is just basically to make sure that the college isn't mismanaging any funds. Also, times board of trustees, they have to vote on whether a budget should pass or should it not pass. And oftentimes the votes can also be a way to advocate of why the budget should move forward. So you always want to make sure that those relationships are healthy. And then just to stay current with federal and state laws regarding funding, just simply because the way that it shapes the way you do your budgeting. The way that you might have did it last year, you may not can do it the next year just because of a simple change within the state law or the federal law. So it can kind of change the way you do your budgeting process and your planning. And then lastly, it's just always important to keep your institution's mission and goals a priority. It's very easy to kind of get caught in the strategies and the resources and the funding and all the numbers, and we lose sight of what are we trying to do for our college? What are we trying to do for our students and staff members and faculty? So just always just try to keep that in the forefront while going through this process. Any questions?
I'm sorry that my audio cut out. I could go back if time allows, but that's up to you, Dr. Edwards.
Any questions?
Yeah, what was your favorite thing that you learned this semester?
I would say for me, my favorite thing is just learning like what all goes into the budgeting process. Like at first I had no idea, but just knowing that the people within the institution really plays a pivotal role of how things are going to be budgeted, how things are going to be allocated. And then also just with the funding within the programs and making sure that those needs are met just based on our student body. So that was kind of insightful for me.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing I learned, I didn't really know what the enrollment numbers were, so that was kind of cool to know. It was 8.9 million students enrolled in community colleges in 2020 and 2021. I started out in a community college and transferred over. So I have a soft spot for community colleges, and that was just really cool. They can be really a great step. So yeah, that was cool to learn.
I think for me, the most interesting thing that I learned was more about the ACC free tuition pilot, which I had talked about before I got cut off, that every graduating senior for the class of 2024 is receiving free tuition for ACC. So they have 3 years to complete an associate's degree and 5 years to complete a bachelor's degree, that one of the 4 that ACC has to offer. And I think that that's amazing. And I live in Austin and I went to ACC as well before I went to my 4-year. And it's incredible. And it makes me so excited for this class to go. And now college is a possibility for them if it wasn't before. So that was the most interesting thing to learn.
Well, thank you all so much. It's been a very enlightening presentation and great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.